joining us. Video, if you want to share a video, you're welcome to screen share it.
Okay, I'm
You have
in.
the privileges.
Okay, it's getting a little nervous there.
No worries, no worries. All is good. Stay comfy. We're just talking, chit-chatting. So why don't you all just give us your name and tell us really briefly about yourselves before you get started.
Sure, I'll go first. My name is Torie White. I am a former science teacher and education director at the Frost Science Museum and former community relations and outreach manager at the Rosenstiel School. And I'm also a current student as well. And I love climate science, weather and climate as well. And I think it's the coolest science in the universe.
Hi, I'm Kelsey. I am a fourth year PhD student at the Rosenstiel School, and I work on climate variability and climate dynamics. I will say real fast, Tori, you are signed in as Kurt, so I'm a little confused. So
Okay.
we might have two Kurts coming in. So everyone just like hold tight on that, a little confusion, but okay, we can continue. I think Kurt might be coming in now.
Okay.
All right. Next person, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Sisam. I am a second year PhD student in the Atmospheric Science Department at the Rosenstiel School, and I study climate physics. Specifically, I study large-scale circulations, and I've been interested in climate science ever since middle school, and every day I realize that it's the right spot for me.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, guys. So, oh, he disappeared. So, you came here to talk to us today about you guys studying climate sciences and climate change, and I think that's amazing. I am personally quite the STEM nerd, and I think the facilities you guys have at your school are super duper cool, and even I'm very interested to hear what you guys have to say.
Yeah, so we did come up with a presentation to show you all, but we do want to make sure that all our panelists are able to kind of join us. Maybe Kurt and Tori are having some technical difficulties, but while they may be sorting that out, I'm going to share the screen for our presentation. Okay, it looks like we have Kurt joining us. Hi, Kurt, do you want to introduce yourself real fast? We did like mini introductions.
All right, can you hear
before
me?
we start? Yes.
Hear me? Good, okay. Hey, I'm Kurt. I'm a fifth year PhD student at the University of Miami, and I study extended range prediction of hurricanes.
Okay, awesome. It looks like we're all here. So I think we'll get started. We're really excited to kind of talk to you guys today. All of us have such a interesting background that we're going to hopefully share with you today, unique backgrounds. We're going to talk about some academic pathways if you are interested in studying climate in your future or just being a part of the climate sciences community. Again, we are Touri White, Kurt, Hansen, Kelsey Malloy, and Sisam Shrestha. Okay, so first we just want to kind of start out with showing you all the different, these are just some of the different climate science topics. So if you are interested in any of these, and this is just a brief list, so anything ranging from energy and water resources to climate policy, to ocean circulation, to climate science communication, all of these involve some sort of understanding of the climate sciences. So we're going to kind of talk to you about some of the pathways today. Tori, you're muted.
Thank you. So high school classes and electives, so environmental science, it's definitely good to have. In terms of math, calculus and statistics are some suggested courses to, hello? Oh, okay. Earth science, definitely one of my favorites. good to know as well. Chemistry and physics. And then when you start getting up to higher level, we get into thermodynamics and mechanics. Computer science is also definitely good to be involved in public speaking and communication and writing, and then US government as well. Now we want to stress that these are not just suggestions. You don't have to be good at all of them or take all of these classes. So in terms of high school extracurriculars, AMS, the American Meteorological Society high school chapter is phenomenal. I think that's very good, strong recommendation for that, as well as environmental science clubs and the National Ocean Science Bowl. Very, 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 very awesome program that I highly recommend as well. The debate team, and for theater, definitely helps out with public speaking skills.
All right, so even if maybe your school doesn't have some of these classes or extracurricular classes or clubs, there's still a lot of opportunities that you can take advantage of when you're in high school. For instance, there's a bunch of weather camps across the US, and I'm sure there's weather camps in other countries too. So for instance, there's the Howard Weather Camp, which I think goes by careers now. I know that the University of Albany, New York has a weather camp, and Penn State has one too. And as Torie mentioned, the American Meteorological Society, they have, you can create your own local high school chapter. And I think the UK has a version of that called the Royal Met Society. Some other things you can do is join other environmental science clubs. You can also become a trained storm spotter using the NWS Skywarn program, and it teaches you when you like report damage or high winds, and they use that, and you can like go onto a website and see where severe storms have occurred in US like that day, and maybe one of those reports is yours. And another thing you should check out is the Citizens Climate Lobby.
So we also have some of the pathways if you're interested in pursuing this in college as well. So we just put some of the majors and interests that involve the climate sciences here, ranging from meteorology to computer sciences to physics to GIS or geography. And some of the extracurriculars that you could do in college, a lot of these are similar to what you could do in high school. So the American Meteorological Society has undergraduate chapters that get involved with other local chapters as well. There are lots of environmental science clubs, either here in Miami. So this is YES, the Youth Environmental Services, which connects Miami-Dade College to K through 12 groups. There are a lot of sustainability groups and initiatives across campuses, and even broadcasting clubs and groups. So I put up KingCast here. So the University of Miami does their own weather forecasting and also discusses a lot of climate change topics as well. So these are just to name a few. Or you can even make your own, which is what I did. That's what the TERP Climate Here Over Here was. When I was in college, I made a multidisciplinary group to discuss climate change.
So there are a lot of opportunities for college kids that are towards their research interest, or also supplement financially towards their studies. So we've just listed a few of them. The first two, the Hollings and the Educational Partnership Program, both from NOAA, provide you with a 2-year research opportunity and funding, and also guarantee a paid internship spot in one of the many NOAA facilities. The third one, NASA Develop, is like a sort of interdisciplinary research internship, which helps you come up with projects that directly aid policymakers to combat environmental problems or climate problems. And there's also scholarships and grants through national chapters like the American Meteorological Society or the Geophysical Union, which provides students with scholarships and grants to conduct undergraduate research and present their results among scholars and scientists all across the globe in these annual meetings. along with these, there are different types of RVUs going on every year, and then research maybe through your colleges that you might be interested in. So always ask for opportunities, ask for research opportunities, just communicate your research interest to your professors. So that's definitely how I landed a few of these opportunities. And that's what I would recommend to every one of y'all. And now we'll move on to individual sections where we'll talk about our individual journeys and what got us to our spot today.
All right, so early years, I loved meteorology as a kid, you know, and weather as well. And I studied it and studied it. And as far as my favorite aspects of it, for weather, it was studying tornadoes. And then for climate, it's the radiative effects of clouds on climate. So as I started out in a professional teaching magnet program at Miami Norland Senior High School, we had simulations of everything from writing lesson plans to teaching our peers during my stay in that magnet program. Then from there, after I graduated from my undergraduate, I went into first substitute teaching. And then from that point, I went in to become a pool substitute, where you just basically go to one school at one time and you sub there Monday through Friday. And then when the position opened up, I became one of the gifted honors earth space science teachers at the Miami-Dade County Public Schools. From there, I transitioned from Miami-Dade County Public Schools to the Frost Science Museum, where I started out as an impact mentor. Impact stands for Integrated Marine Program and College Training, and it's the summer component of the Upper Bound Math Science Program's TRIO program from the Department of Education. From there, I became the school outreach coordinator, and then I transitioned into the youth programs project director, and then ultimately the Upper Bound Math and Science program director. While I was there, I had opportunity to collaborate with multiple partners and community organizations and our friends over FIU's Wall of Wind. From that point, I transitioned to the University of Miami, where I served as the Community Relations and Outreach Manager, where I had a chance to hang out with Sebastian Ivis. And then during my stay there, I also had opportunity to visit NCAR, National Center for Atmospheric Research, and see what cool things they had going on there as well. And as the old adage says, knowledge is power, definitely power. As I mentioned before, I attended Miami Norland Senior High School. I received my high school diploma. I received my AA from the University of West Florida. I received my BA from MU, and now I'm working on my master's degree, and I'm a second year graduate student there. And as you can see here, here is a weather segment where I combined, for Kane's Cast, where I combine weather and climate together, which is pretty awesome. Thank you. Now we're going to toss it over to Kurt.
Thanks, Torie. That's funny you said that you were a tornado person. So I was a tornado person before I was a hurricane person, but that was like,
wow. Cool.
Yeah, so I grew up just outside of Washington, D.C. And a lot of you guys are probably too young to remember this, but there was, or not even there. But there was a big hurricane in 2003 that came through the area, and big for, this region is a weak tropical storm. But nonetheless, it caused a lot of damage, and it knocked this is my house, and this is the tree that fell on my house. And I was, young, I didn't have to pay for it. So I was ecstatic. This was like the moment that got me really interested in hurricanes. And it's been an interest that has followed me my whole life. So I can credit Hurricane Isabel for that. That happened to me in elementary school, but I was still really passionate about these storms through high school. And so one of the opportunities I took advantage of was the Howard Weather Camp, which I think is now known as Careers. And so this is the group of us that took that camp that summer. And so I'm pretty much dead center, and we did a lot of really cool things. Like we visited the NOAA Science Center, helped launch weather balloons, took like classes on a whole range of different subjects. So it really kind of let me get my feet for, got my feet wet for understanding meteorology. And so next I went to college at the University of Albany. And I continued, I got my degree in atmospheric science. And I did a lot of cool things there. So I became a Holling Scholar, and I did an internship at the Hurricane Research Division here in Miami. And I loved Miami so much that I decided to go to grad school here, which is a bit of a spoiler. But there were other cool opportunities that I did too. So I really hit the AMS scholarships hard. I took advantage of every AMS opportunity I could. So I went to a bunch of AMS conferences as an undergraduate. And so these pictures here show me, I helped with like the information kiosk, and I even got to go get on the news. So this big picture here is a picture of me on the local Atlanta news during the event. And so that was really cool, seeing professionals and actually like getting to network as an undergrad. And so I said, after Albany, which was very cold, I decided I wanted to be warm. So I came here to Miami. And I keep doing cool things here. So because of my connections at the Hurricane Research Division, I was able to get onto one of the Hurricane Hunter flights. So this is me and John Zwislak, who was the Hurricane Field Program Director 2 years ago. And so I flew into the eye of Hurricane Dorian, which is shown in the upper right here. And so I'm on RSMAS campus, which you might have seen this exact picture with Amy Clement. And I do research on hurricanes, and I'm also part of the Canes on Canes group, which is shown in the bottom right here. And we do outreach communicating hurricane safety and hurricane science to the public. So I think I'll pass it to Kelsey.
Thanks, Torie and Kurt. So aside from being a fashion icon, in my early days, all I really wanted to do was go to my swim club, go to the pool. So in order to do so, the weather had to be nice. So when I was a kid, I would religiously check the weather every day, tell all my friends and their families what the weather was going to be like for the whole week. And yeah, I was just like really infatuated with the weather in general. But I didn't really know that you could have a career in meteorology or atmospheric science until about high school time when I was a sophomore or junior. And what really got me into climate and climate change was taking my AP Environmental Science class. I just loved learning about that, and I really learned that there are people who study this for a living, and I thought that that was really cool, and that's what I wanted to do. So I started college at the University of Maryland. I got heavily involved with the American Meteorological Society, AMS. And since we were near DC, we got to visit a lot of the facilities in the DC area. I went to as many conferences as I could. I became AMS president of my student chapter my senior year. So that was really rewarding. I did a research experience as an undergrad, or considered an REU, at Scripps University, where I studied atmospheric rivers, and I thought that was really awesome. These are basically rivers of water vapor in the sky that can affect California usually, but also anywhere else in the United States. So I thought that that was really cool, and I got some research experience. Okay, so then I did I started my thesis internship, because we had to do a senior thesis. And so I did it at the Ocean Prediction Center, which is near DC as well. And I was able to do some pretty cool research studying explosive cyclogenesis over the Pacific Ocean. And that was just also a rewarding experience. And just like Kurt, I also got the NOAA Holling Scholarship, and I was able to do my internship in Boulder, Colorado. where I studied atmospheric rivers again, but this time I looked at climate change and how that would affect future atmospheric rivers. So that was a really fun experience. And I just really started to like research and looking at these types of phenomena. So I graduated in about 2017, and I decided I wanted to go right to grad school. Here's me with my cool cap where I designed, it says "off to chase the next big storm," which that's what I did here coming to Miami. And this is me really excited on stage. Someone captured this perfect moment. And so now, right now, I'm getting my PhD at the University of Miami Rosenstiel School. I'm still able to have some fun. So this is looking at a cold front coming through. I'm on one of the roofs, which am I allowed to? I just can't resist. So I'm still able to look at some cool storms. And then on the bottom right here is me and another friend chasing Hurricane Isaias this past summer. And I'm still going to some conferences. So that top right one is from AMS from last year before COVID hit. And aside from doing research, I like to think that I'm pretty involved in some of the outreach. So I'm able to give climate change presentations to K through 12 groups. I'm able to do other types of science communication projects. So Kerr and I are also part of this blog called Seasoned Chaos, where we talk about climate forecasting topics to non-scientist groups and scientist groups alike. So that's been really fun to get that type of experience in general. And yeah, I've just really enjoyed my time in the climate sciences, whether that be research or outreach or whatever it may be. And at this point, I think I'm going to toss it to Sisam.
Thank you, Kelsey. So everyone, that is me. Standing on one of our roofs. And that's actually the FG Walton behind me, which is this really cool vessel, research vessel that we have at RSMAS. I don't do that. Most of the time, I'm usually in my windowless office in front of my computer, and I'm gonna tell you how I landed my spot in that office. So my journey actually begins all the way across the globe in a tiny South Asian nation called Nepal, where I was born and raised. For those of you who don't know much about Nepal, it's sandwiched between two big nations, India and China. Now, to our northern borders, we have the mighty Himalayas, which will be up in this next picture. Okay. And these Himalayas, they are housed to some of the biggest peaks in the world. We also have to our south, the flatlands, where you can easily cross paths with rhinos, elephants, and occasional tigers here and there, which will be here in the next picture. Yes. So for a country that was so small, Nepal has a huge natural resource, I guess, a natural reserve. And that really amazed me. Mother Nature really amazed me from a really young age. And I just so happened to come across this show on the Discovery Channel that talked about ENSO, or the El Nino Southern Oscillation, and how it affected everything from the rainfall patterns in Indonesia to the actual fish markets in South America. And it was a really mind-boggling experience for me to know that there existed something in our atmosphere so huge that it spanned across the Pacific and affected not just the physical atmosphere itself, but also socioeconomic conditions in completely different continents. So that curiosity led me all the way across the continent and landed me in Louisiana, where I got a really great opportunity to take up undergraduate degree in atmospheric science at the University of Louisiana Monroe. So while at ULM, I was heavily involved in a lot of extracurricular activities, and part of those were the American Meteorological Society. I was a student member for most of the time and the secretary for AMS during my sophomore year. And that's how it landed me to AMS Seattle, where we received like the Student Chapter of the Year award. I was also involved in Vortex Southeast, which is a NOAA project, and I was involved as a student assistant for the ULM team. So we were helping them collect data for this project that we're doing to study how environment affects tornado genesis in Southeast United States. So that's me and my friend on the bottom picture trying to get a weather balloon set up. And that's me on the top picture goofing around with a weather balloon that was about to be launched. Lastly, I guess the highlight of my undergraduate career would be my involvement in NASA Developed, where I worked on a project that was very special to me, the Hindu Kush Himalayan Disaster Project. So it basically looked at lightning hotspots and lightning risk areas in two countries, Nepal and Bangladesh, which have one of the highest lightning fatality rates in the world, not just because of the lightning activities that these places experience, but also because of the socioeconomic condition. And this project really made an impact on me because I was able to see a tangible, I guess, result of what I was studying in my textbooks through this project, because it was ultimately helping policymakers and local level law officers to formulate a distribution plan for these lightning fatalities or lightning hotspots. So all these experiences just furthered my interest in climate science because I kept realizing that it was the need of the hour, and at times it could even mean a life or death situation. So that landed me to this beautiful city of Miami, to our beautiful campus, and that's RSMAS over here from our doc. So currently I'm studying atmospheric science. I'm in the physical side of atmospheric science, and my research areas are water vapor and large-scale tropical circulation. So large-scale tropical circulation basically, among many other things, dictates rain patterns in the tropical belt and also dictates energy distribution throughout the globe. So studying how they have evolved in the past and studying how they will possibly evolve in the future, taking into consideration anthropogenic climate change or human-induced climate change, will help us get a better hold of the science and thus help policymakers come up with effective policies to combat the adverse effect of climate change or even mitigate them if possible. So because of my interest in climate science, I'm also interested in sharing my knowledge about climate science with others. And thus I'm involved in outreach events like Women in Science Day, the Climate Cafe series, and the Diversity in Science Day. All these events basically have a goal of communicating climate science to the general public so as to initiate dialogues of climate science and make climate science a basic everyday conversation rather than something that is divided between the political lines. And with that, I guess we'll end this session. And thank you for joining us today. Would be happy to take questions if you have any. Just feel free to put them in the chat box.
All right, thank you guys so much for speaking. You guys are so cool, and I love the work you do. We have a ton of questions in our Q&A, so if you don't mind, I'm just going to direct a few at you guys, and we want to hear your responses and what you think. So, first question, what kind of... Okay, first question, do you know what other kind of careers and how many years are involved? How many years of schooling it takes to get involved into some of these careers? Anybody?
I'll jump in. So basically, all of our different tracks are a little bit different from each other. We don't all have the identical tracks that we're on. So for example, my teammates are PhD students and I'm a master's student. So the emphasis of what my studies is on is specifically on coastal zone management and broadcast meteorology. So some of the career pathways that can lead to are weather forecasters, weathercasters on TV, broadcast meteorologists, and the like. So that's pretty much one career trajectory you can take based on taking these atmospheric courses at Rosenstiel School.
All right, awesome. That's super cool. So
Thank
next
you.
question, what other colleges or universities are like top recommended, really big about climate science, climate change, or have some really cool programs for those people that are looking to get involved and want to know what kind of colleges would do that?
I guess I'll chime in first, but I'm sure others will have different opinions maybe. So this is really, really dependent on, the type of career that you may want or what you're interested in. So some of the big meteorology programs I can think of are places like Penn State University, Oklahoma University. Those are some of the big ones. You here at UM, we have a pretty good meteorology program. also marine science if you want to get into more of that side. Those are some of the big ones that come off the top of my head. But again, it also really depends on what exactly you want to study. So if you're really interested in hurricanes, for example, you probably want to be in a place like Florida, or like Albany was another good example of a place that studies like hurricanes and stuff like that. So it's really just dependent on what you want to exactly, like what your actual interest is, but also you might have to do some other research for who does that type of specified interest.
Super
if that
cool,
makes
super
sense.
helpful. Thank you so much. All right, awesome. We have another question in the chat. Is there a career that combines space and climate? Anyone that you could think of?
I mean, the answer is yes. Like that is, I think that's outside of all of our specialties, but there was like a specific like space weather class that I took like at the Howard Weather Camp in high school. So there are people like, because we send robots into space and we kind of need to know the weather for them. So there's people at NASA that do forecast space weather, but unfortunately, I don't know exactly how you get about getting that job, but it almost certainly involves a lot of math, physics, and computer science.
Oh, wow.
It does.
No.
Can I jump in as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would argue that when you want to combine weather and climate and space together, I would look into planetary meteorology. That's something where meteorologists are studying the weather here on Earth and then on other worlds as well. So I think that's the best advice I can give: planetary meteorology.
Wow, awesome, awesome. Thanks for your question. I guess you're interested in space and climate. Okay, great. So another question, do you guys have suggestions for ways that middle school students or high school students could get involved in studying climate science and maybe doing summer programs before they get to college?
So I think a lot of the opportunities that we had discussed near the beginning of the presentation is a really good start. We can put in the chat a couple of the websites to check out that discuss a lot of those opportunities, whether that be if you're in high school, lower, or if you are close to being into college as well. So I would say check those out as a good first start.
That'd be awesome. You can totally send those links to us and we can post it on our platform or send it in the chat and kids can start looking now. That's awesome. I super appreciate the fact that you put all that together. That is super sweet. I'm sure we'll love that and we'll take advantage of that. Thank you. This question is for Torie. You've had a lot of different jobs when you were talking. Is there one that is your favorite or involved the most challenges?
Oh, okay. Yes, I'm a returning student, so I had a career as a science teacher, and I love working with students. That was my biggest thing. I've done it as a teacher. I transitioned to the Frost Science Museum where I served as an instructor as well, aside from being a director and coordinating all of that stuff. But I think the best thing that out of all of it, I think, and it goes at UM, but I think the best I would honestly say has been here working at UM because I was able not only to just work with students in the classroom, but I was able to work with students outside of the classroom in a formal setting as well. And I had a more diverse audience that I was exposed to while I was at the University of Miami. So I think that would be my favorite one. But in terms of the meteorology and the climate science and all that good stuff, I decided to go back to school to pursue my passion as well because I started it and didn't finish it. So now I'm going back to finish it. So that's where I am now.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. That's great. Okay, cool. This question is for Kurt. Do you think you still would have found your way to the field that you're in now had Hurricane Isabel not happened?
I mean, I was always interested in weather. So like every time that it rained, I would put on my poncho and go outside. Like I think that I was going to end up somewhere in the meteorology field, no matter what. But I know that like I think it's kind of rare that like a storm hits somebody young and they have this passion that continues throughout their whole life. There's quite a few people, even at RSMAS, that are incredible scientists, and they only recently got interested in meteorology. Like one of my friends, she was in a typhoon, and that was what kicked off her interest, and she did that after college.
That's amazing. Yeah, that tells the youth. I mean, it doesn't matter at what point you get involved. It's just matters that you got involved at some point and you put your heart to it. Awesome. Thank you so much. Next question, Kelsey. This one's for you. Someone saw that you were inspired by your AP Environmental Science class. Awesome class. I took that too. Do you think that climate science should be incorporated into school curriculums so that everybody is sort of introduced to that concept?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And I would say yes, not even just in high school, maybe even lower. A lot of kids need to be exposed to some of the issues that are happening today. And one of those big ones is climate change. I think that it starts with the younger kids who really inspire change, and they're going to be part of the solution as they get older. So why not start younger? Kids are, smarter than we think, and I really don't understand why it wouldn't be a part of the curriculum. So yeah, definitely.
That's so true. It's just thinking as a high school student, there is so much in the curriculum that really doesn't need to be there, absolutely useless. But climate science is super important and it literally impacts every single person out there. So I agree with you. We should definitely get that in the curriculum. And great question, whoever typed that in. Thank you so much. Sisam, you have the next question. Someone wanted to know, what are your next steps moving into the future, your next goals?
I definitely want to get done with this PhD as soon as I can, for our starters. But like my ultimate goal is to work at research facilities that directly work with policymakers, because I feel like just studying climate science without actually coming up with policies or effective policies is no use. We're studying a problem, but we also need a way to combat these problems, like through paperwork, through policies, through dialogues. So I feel like I'll go somewhere into some kind of government or international policy job after this.
Wow, that's awesome. And good luck finishing your PhD. That's amazing, super cool. So this was kind of a general question, and you can take a shot at it. But earlier, Amy Clement talked about a hurricane simulator machine at RSMAS. Have any of you ever used it, and can I know more about it?
Sure. I'll Yes, I haven't personally took my hands on the machine to activate it, but I was there when we utilized it for our various school groups that came in, and it is actually absolutely phenomenal. It's a hurricane simulator, and it has the ability. And what they do there, they study the interface between the ocean and atmosphere, and basically how we can come up with more resilient ways to fortify our coasts. So in terms of structures and the like. So it's a really awesome machine. They even cross collaborate with departments. So for example, they utilize actual coral beds inside of the wave tank, and then they study to see how corals absorb wave height and wave energy. So it's really phenomenal actual machine.
Wow, that's super cool. And just out of curiosity, is that a kind of machine that a lot of those colleges you were talking about earlier have, or is that kind of like really unique to UM?
It's really unique to UM. I think we have the biggest machine to scale in terms of the magnitude of the machine in the whole planet. So it's signature to University of Miami's Rosenstiel School.
That's fascinating. Wow, that's super duper cool. You guys, I don't know about you, if I were in that school, I'd be super excited about having that. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Alrighty, so we do have a few minutes left. Is there anything else you guys wanted to finish up on or mention, or anything that you missed? Maybe some final notes, inspiration, or?
Sure, I just want to end on this. As I said before, knowledge is power. Always become a lifelong learner. Don't stop. Again, I'm a testament to you can't be too old to go back to school, because again, I'm living proof right now. And if you have a passion and a desire to do something, as long as you put mind to purpose, you can accomplish anything.
Super cool. Yes, I totally agree. I love it. Education is ageless. super inspirational. You guys are amazing, by the way. I loved all your speeches and hearing all your stories. You have such cool backgrounds, and for how young you guys are, I feel like you guys have done a lot of programs, and you've all worked with NOAA. I noticed. Is like a really widespread? Is that like kind of like a rite of passage for climate studying graduates?
I would say NOAA has a lot of opportunities, so that's probably why we all have kind of been sucked in, I guess, for a lack of a better term. But yeah.
Yeah. Also, too, we have a cooperative institute where we work with NOAA's with Atlantic and Oceanographic Meteorology Laboratory across the street from RSMAS, and we have a ton of different collaborations with those guys across the street from us. So, and we have also some of our students graduate and matriculate and actually get jobs over at NOAA as well. So it's a really awesome partnership that we have with NOAA facility.
Wow, super cool. So thank you guys so much. And I really loved how you linked all those opportunities in the slides. If you want to send that to us, we'll just take them right out of there and we'll put them out for everybody to see. Thank you so much, guys. You did amazing. Super appreciate all the time you have taken out of your busy schedules to come here today, the time you've taken out of getting your PhDs to talk to us and tell us about studying climate sciences. It's great. You guys are awesome.
Thank you so much for
Thank
inviting
you.
us.
Anytime.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
All right, awesome. Show your love in the chat, guys. These people are awesome. Have a wonderful day. Woo! And in a few minutes, we'll have everybody start coming back in and we'll move on to our next session. So take a break. You